Every Sunday, my husband and I sit down for a money chat. I know that's not sexy, but it's been wildly useful.
No, I actually love that because I feel like I'm at the age where I'm like, okay, I need to stop guessing where my money's going.
Yes, and that's exactly where PocketSmith helps. You can track what you spend and earn, categorize and label spending, set up budgets, and view your finances in a calendar and actually forecast your cash flow up to 60 years into the future. And for neurodivergent brains, that flexibility matters. Sometimes you don't need more willpower, you need a system that makes the information easier to see.
So, whatever your goals, like saving, paying things down, or just trying not to spend your whole salary on takeaway, PocketSmith allows you to easily track and measure your money and get to enjoy the process of building toward your financial goals.
If you'd like to manage your money like a pro, PocketSmith has a special deal for the Climb listeners. Get 50% off your first 2 months of PocketSmith's foundation plan. To get your deal, go to pocketsmith.com/the-climb-podcast. See our show notes for more details. We're recording this episode on the beautiful, unceded lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We want to express our gratitude for being able to create this podcast on this land, and we pay our respects to their enduring culture and connection to country. We recognise that sovereignty was never ceded, always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Welcome to The Climb, a podcast about the messy, brilliant, relentless journey of building something meaningful. As an introvert who believes in adding value, not noise, every 40-minute conversation is built to respect your time, but also actually teach you something useful.
Cherie, today we're talking all about personal brand and how you don't need followers to start a personal brand. You just need to actually start it,
Yes.
which is often the hardest part, but we'll get to that.
We will.
So, do you actually need a following to build a personal brand in 2026?
No.
And we kind of answered it.
Yeah,
Thanks, everyone. See ya.
No, you genuinely don't. But I've even got a story that could probably back this up. And I believe you have something
Yeah.
interesting in the space as well. But for me personally, let's take it back, honestly, a few years now. My son, he's starting high school. It's year 7. He's about 2 weeks in. And then one day he came home and he shared that some way, somehow, and kids are freaking amazing these days, honestly, but they'd traced down my personal brand, but they'd gone so deep, like so deep. They managed to find a photo of me in Queensland when I lived there as a 17-year-old in a bikini.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Like I was just on a Gold Coast beach, like so swimwear necessary.
Yeah.
And it was so humiliating because it got sent through the class chat, through the whole cohort, I believe, year 7. And Max was really embarrassed because he's such a private little dude. I really hated that for him. And when he came home, I'm going to say I've always prided myself on non-reactivity, but sometimes I can get reactive where it's needed. I looked at his face. I know him so well. He is my own child, you know, and I also relate to him so much as an introvert as well. So I just really deeply knew how he was feeling. He didn't want to have to sort of, I guess, almost defend, I say it's in inverted commas, but his mum. And so he just said, I just feel so uncomfortable with this. And he only needed to say that one sentence. And then it was one of my favorite moments because I think I built psychological safety with him in this moment. Like I try it all the time, but this was just another moment where that was being built. But we just sat down together and I said, hey, bub, I'm going to delete this right now. Let's do it right now. I said, I don't need this account. I'm a strategist. I'll just use the main account and I'm going to just hit pause on a personal brand for a red hot minute there. Outside of, I did stay active on LinkedIn, but I'm pretty sure the year 7s weren't active on that platform, you know? So I deleted it. I looked at his face and I knew immediately that I'd made the right call for my, at the time, 11/12-year-old boy. And that was it. Like, personal brand closed. It cost the business a lot of money and I didn't care. So that was closed and I just hit pause on personal brand on that platform for a few years. And then he grew up, he changed even schools, you know, got to a school that was just better for him anyway. And I just thought, I can restart a personal brand now. Like I just knew it was right. And I knew now what new boundaries would look like. And there's going to be no bikini photos of your gal on the Gold Coast when she was 17, right? So yeah, I feel good about where I am, but I can wholeheartedly say within less than 3 months, I had far surpassed followers that I had on my original account, because I am a different person now, and I think I've just become even more strategic and so much more aware of what my purpose is when it comes to personal brand. And so it only took like some really big pieces of content to far surpass the followers. And these days, honestly, all of that vanity talk aside, followers don't matter as much as other stuff does, which I'm going to talk about on this episode. But that's my story, Steph. But you've got like an interesting pivot story with a personal brand for you. So do you want to share your
Yeah,
story?
please. I used to have my own business. It was called Steph Clifford Films, and
Yes.
that was my Instagram account. So it was definitely a business account. It wasn't a personal account. I think maybe I jumped on stories a couple of times, but yeah, it was very much more just like sharing work.
Yep.
And when I started working at TDP and in the lead up to this podcast going live, I really in particular was like, okay, I think now is the time that I could start my own personal brand. I actually feel like I have
Yes.
something to say and something to add to the conversation, because I'd felt like up until this point, I didn't know what that thing was for me, but I was like, yeah, no, this podcast, like now's the time. Like I'm gonna do this. And so I had my Steph Clifford Films account there, and I was like, I'm gonna pivot this to be my personal brand. So if you go there now, you can swipe down, you can go and see those wedding video videos and stuff. But the thing that I didn't love about it was that the audience was going to be so different to hopefully, that future audience that I'm creating. And a lot of people had followed me for, yeah, my business side of it. And they're
Yeah.
probably going to get a bit of a whiplash when I start posting podcast clips, X amount of years later. And so, yeah, I went through everyone who followed me and I made them unfollow my account.
Yeah.
Literally every single person I knew. It didn't matter how close you were to me.
It's
Like,
such a cleanse, clicking those three dots and just saying remove follower. I
yeah,
love doing that.
yeah.
Yep.
So every single person that I knew them, I removed them. And it was like not a personal thing at all. It was honestly just like, I felt it freeing for me. And, maybe it's freeing for them too, of like, you don't need to follow my, what's going on with my work and my personal brand. Like, you really don't need to. It's
Yes.
a lot of the content isn't for those people.
Yes.
It's a completely different audience. And then started posting new content, and it's like, hey, you can follow me now if you want to. You can opt back in. I just felt like, of course, you could keep those followers there as the vanity metric, but really they're not the audience that I'm going for. They don't need to be a part of the journey, and if they want to be, then that's amazing. And I love that I've had a lot of them since like come back and follow and support. But starting fresh is actually a really positive thing. And I feel like we've experienced this at TDP as well. It's like when you fall into the incorrect audiences, it can
Yep.
actually have a much bigger negative impact than positive. So yeah, don't be worried if you're starting at 0 followers. Like that's awesome. I remember when you started your like now
Yep.
personal brand, Cherie, I
Yes.
said to you, I'm like, I'm so excited to start like watch an account from 0,
Yep.
because you rarely get to do that.
Yep.
Even now with the podcast, it's like,
Yep.
I'm excited to see what we get to and like how we
Yeah.
grow. So be excited by 0 followers. Like
Yes.
that's a really fun time.
I agree. There's so much power in starting again as well. And honestly, that's the really incredible thing about personal brand is when you nail this and you lock in and lock down on it, you can have growth far beyond anything you probably experience with a business brand. So that's what we're going to unpack on today's episode. And I'm really excited.
Amazing.
Yep.
So what do people get wrong about starting from 0?
I think the biggest thing is I twitch over this one, Steph, but it's like watching folks honestly just take and wait too long to actually start, just get started. I know that's sounding so generic at this point, but I just watch too many, I would say in our industry, creative strategists. So therefore they fall into what I consider to be like the tortured artist demographic. Perfectionism just wins every time. And so they just don't actually get started. They also over polish, and to begin with, that's not what works with content in this era at the moment. And I'm going to say for the foreseeable future, ugly content is definitely where it's at. So that over polished stuff, it just takes so much more time and energy. And then it just actually falls flat online, which destroys, your own personal feelings of like momentum and so on. The other thing that I notice folks getting wrong is they start posting like they already have an audience. And one of the biggest mistakes that folks make is it's firstly the cadence, the posting frequency is just too much. You are posting at a level of frequency as if you have a really established audience. So I say in the early days, especially of personal brand, start with less, but do more with it. And normally when I teach funnel based content marketing strategies, people will hear me harp on and on about nailing top of funnel and middle of funnel and bottom. Why would you bother waste your time with bottom of funnel content when you've got nobody there? So I say if you were just starting out, probably even scrap the middle of funnel and just go all in on top of funnel content, which is high attention, high awareness. And I would be blasting that and that only. And when I say blast, I mean like maybe even just once a week, until you feel like you've got something more established. And then you can start to flesh out a proper strategy with top of funnel content being high attention and awareness, middle of funnel being consideration, and then bottom of funnel being conversion.
And in that top of funnel space, it's like, what value can you add? And you might think, well, I don't have any followers, so I don't know what value I can add. It's like, yes, you have so much value you can add. Is it education? Is
Yes.
it entertainment? Are you
Yeah.
making people laugh? Like, what is the thing that you are giving value? And like,
Agreed.
you'll see there's an audience out there for whatever you're interested in talking about.
And you've seen it, Steph. Like you said, you were excited when I restarted my post bikini era
Yeah.
account. And you saw it go from literally zero. I actually don't know what the follower count is at the moment. I don't care. Like I'm really deliberate on that. You saw it go from absolutely nothing to just bang, everything. And that was through really effective top of funnel content that was just so true to who I am as a person. And it built the right audience for me right from the beginning. So you can go from 0 followers to an entirely different situation for yourself with really effective top of funnel content to begin with.
Absolutely. Can you take us back to a time where you were posting and you weren't getting a lot of traction?
Yeah. Okay, so what that phase looked like for me was having to get really clear on what my purpose is and was at the time. And it'll always keep evolving, I guess, but I've always been clear on that because I think if you lock in on that, it should be the thing that you can't stop talking about no matter how hard you try. So for me, I'm really clear on that. I know what my stuff is, and anyone who hangs around me for 5 seconds would be pretty clear on that as well. Also, I would say, to be really honest, over time, I realized I can actually own a lane for myself. And I landed on something that I feel really proud about, which is that I hadn't realized, and I think I took it for granted. And it was only when someone said it back to me in a particular strategy meeting that I was in that I'd paid to be in. I wanted to speak to someone else outside of my job, like my job here, but they're also a marketing strategist. I paid for their time. And they said this thing that just changed everything for me, which was unoffendability is actually your leadership flex. And I was like, yes, it actually is. Like I joke about Cillian Murphy, but I'm not joking. Like I am unoffendable. And even when I do take offense, I know what tools to implement to get to a place of like pretty good and rapid recovery. What that phase also looks like for me was you just have to own it. There's a 0 audience phase. You just got to sit in the discomfort of it all.
Yeah.
It's in that early posting days era, so there's really low or no engagement. There's also, as a result, no validation. That's the hardest part for some people building personal brand because they don't get that immediate hit of, validation. You've got to be good with that. And I am.
It's really easy in that place to forget why you're doing it.
Yep.
Because you're getting none of the payoff. And people might be listening to this going, well, I don't even want to start a personal brand. But it's like, okay, well, maybe you don't want to do that as a primary goal, but like, do you want opportunities to come your way?
Yeah.
And do you want like maybe career opportunities or speaking or some sort of money or, there's all these different things that come from having a personal brand. And I think often people maybe who don't have personal brands would assume that people create them because they have an ego or they love themselves or they want to like put their face and their voice out there. And often that's not the case at all. It's actually about the other goals that they're chasing, which are in line with their lifestyle or family or career that they're going for. And yeah, when you're posting and you're getting one like and it's from your mum, it's pretty harsh.
It's so humbling. Like my dad has an Instagram account with his full name, but he's merged all the letters. So it's actually car shanter.
Yeah.
And honestly, in the early days, it was nothing but car shanter. And I was just like humbling, but I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wasn't building for the audience. I was building for the future one,
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a sense like you've got it. That's your quiet confidence era, I would say. So I loved that quiet confidence got me through that zero audience phase pretty well.
And what point after that did you realize this is actually working? I'm building some traction here.
Yep. This is an easy one and a short one, but it's actually that I don't know my follower count because I don't care. I do know, however, my average reach per month on this particular account. I know my average reach on LinkedIn, not so much TikTok because your gal is busy, but on those two platforms where I'm making a concentrated effort, I know that on Instagram, I'm averaging between 4 to 6 million impressions per month. And on LinkedIn, I'm averaging about 1 million, about 1 mil in terms of reach per month on that platform. When I'm doing consistent content on both of those platforms, that's all that matters. So follower counts are pretty redundant in this era, but the impact that you make with what you're doing is what matters now. So I think that's my I've made it moment that I can just say, straight away what I know I'm reaching per month and the impact, that I'm making. And I feel really proud of that because we recently had our comeback conference and there was someone who stood up there and said, like, it's not about being an influencer, it's about being a person of influence. And I think I wear that badge with pride. Like, I get DMs every week that articulate return on intimacy for me, where just people feel genuinely compelled to let me know when they've been diagnosed as neurodivergent. That is the proudest thing. That's the proudest message I think I'd probably receive. But I get about 10 of them per week,
That's so nice.
I know.
I think as well, people will probably be able to recognize it in themselves when you're scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is, how many times you might see a person's face and you're not following them. Like, I
Yes.
have that constantly on TikTok where I'm seeing people and I'm like, oh yeah, I probably watch this person, a couple times a week.
Mm,
And then like 3 months down the line, I look and I'm like, I'm not even following them.
I know.
I can't, I actually get mad at myself when I
Yes.
like can't believe I haven't like given the recognition, but it's more about going to show that it's a different social landscape now.
So different.
And it's just about algorithms and like how you appear to people. And so, yeah, really do drop the
Yes.
worry about follower count
It's
because
just
it's
not
just
it.
visibility.
Yep.
And even at the time of recording right now, I saw yesterday, I think it was Fate the Label, a girl had posted on TikTok, I believe, like a haul, and Brittany Saunders must have commented on it and said, oh, you should model. And she kind of said, oh, thanks so much. And she said, no, really. And now she's modeling
Whoa.
for Fate the Label.
No
And
way.
she had, I can't remember the amount of followers, but it was like less
Wow.
than 1,000 or 2,000. And she literally spoke to this topic on how it's like, just post the damn thing. Like, you never know what can happen.
That is absolutely it.
All right. So if we're saying that the followers don't matter,
Yep.
what does matter?
Okay. It's clear positioning. Got to get really clear on your position. You've got to get so comfortable with repetition. We're in an AI first algorithm era that needs you to get repetitive so it can really clearly understand what your lane is, what your expertise, what your authority is, so that they can be more likely to recommend you to folks who aren't even following them, like that scenario that you just mentioned there. Got to say the same thing a lot, but better each time. That will only come with repetition. And believe it or not, you don't need more content, you just need clearer content. So I guess I would ask you now, what is one thing you think you could say once a week for 12 months without running out of examples? That's I could talk about one thing until the cows come home. That's something you should probably land on for your personal brand. Your answer becomes a recurring personal brand lane. And so for that reason, pick 3 to 5 things that you want to be known for. Make those your content topics that you speak to really consistently. Get really clear on your values and how you can show that you embody those values. And then get clear on your beliefs as well. So you want to get clear on your brand stories, picking again 3 to 5 stories where you can start sharing to those 1 to 2 times per week. And then I would say final thing is diversifying the way that you share that. So it might be video format, carousel, LinkedIn, repurposed across to, and so on and so on. So you've really got to mix up the format. And so the final thing I sort of ask a lot of people is, well, I would ask you the question, what would your audience know and feel about you if you stopped hiding behind the business brand? So just after you've listened to this podcast episode, I want you to just pen and paper if you want, or digital, however you roll, write on one left side no, and then on the right side feel, and just write all the things that people would know about you if you stop hiding behind brand. And then on the right side, write the same, but with what they would feel about you if you stopped hiding behind your personal brand. And I'm not saying all of this, and we're not even leaning into this episode, Steph, to tell everyone to launch the personal brand. This stuff can honestly trickle into a brand. Personal brand can exist within
Yeah,
a
that's
brand.
right.
That's
Yeah.
how it should start, to be
Yeah.
honest. And if you think it's got legs, then and only then would I probably launch into full scale, personal brand. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's as easy as, getting started with this. Know and feel, 3 to 5 topics, the thing that you could say every week for 12 months without running out of, ideas. That's a really great place to start.
Okay, so what kind of content works best in the early days?
Yeah, so I mentioned a little bit before, but definitely top of funnel. It's probably the only thing I would start with if you are in the really early days of a fully fledged personal brand like build out. High awareness content, not attention seeking. Please, anyone who's listening to this, don't think, like you said before, doesn't mean you have to be the biggest or loudest personality, but I'm just talking about anything that seriously stops the scroll and sort of really hooks people in. From there, you might even want to think about a signature series for yourself. From there, I would sort of look at the top of funnel content that's performing really well for yourself. And I would log into LinkedIn, take the well performing piece of content and sharing that across via LinkedIn DMs, especially if you've got a premium LinkedIn account, to relevant journalists or folks within the media. And I just usually say, and I was taught to do this by Odette from Odette and Co, where I sort of say, hey, this post has gone live. It's a story about dot, dot, dot. It's getting some real signals. And I thought, maybe you want to run this story. So it's sort of you're presenting the opportunity to this journalist. And I packaged it up as if like, hey, I'm doing part of
Yeah.
your role for you, because they're
Helping you
always,
out.
that's it, just
Yeah.
helping you out. They're always looking for stories. So I want to help them find them with my top of funnel content. And I've learned as an introvert who usually wouldn't do anything like that until I got that permission that was acceptable from Odette. I've learned that that's where I clock the large majority of my free media wins. Yep.
All right. Can you answer a question that we get in the DMs quite a bit,
Yes.
which is how do I avoid oversharing online?
Oh my gosh, Steph, we get this. What would you, I think it's
I
like,
don't know, a lot. Yeah, I think because people probably, who are sending us that message are part of our community and probably have followed you for a while, Sheree.
yep.
And I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong here, but they would probably think of you as potentially an oversharer.
Oh,
But
they wouldn't, they do.
yeah. Sorry, I was being delicate there. But actually, like knowing you, I know that there's more stories that you don't share than what you do.
So much more that I
Yeah.
don't share than I would. Yep.
So it's funny that, they perceive it to be oversharing, but
Yeah.
that's just your level of comfortability. And of course, other people's might be far less, they might be a little bit more guarded than that, and that's
Yes.
fine too. But anyways, back to the question.
Yeah, no, that's a really good. I like that you've actually shared that. I think a lot of people would think, oh, wow, so she overshares online and like not really actually share to connect. So that's a really big, important differentiation piece for me. And as you would know, there is so much more that I could share, but just choose not to. Sometimes it would be because I'd feel like that was virtue signaling, or other times it's like, I'm in the messy middle of this. There's no freaking way I'm going to share this right now. And other times, like I don't share my children online anymore. I don't name their names because I don't want them to be like searchable. There's just so much that I don't share. My husband really would prefer never to be shared online unless he's honestly given verbal permission to be shared. So I'm really careful and respectful of that. I love his desire for privacy. It's one of the most attractive things about him. He's the most offline dude I think I've ever met in my life. And this is some of the questions that I ask myself before I go to share something that might be maybe more in that vulnerability camp. I ask myself, am I still in the emotional center of this? Have I actually made sense of what happened? Can I name the lesson clearly? Does this help the audience or just relieve me? That's the biggest one.
That's a good one.
Yep. What is the boundary and what stays private? And then if anything is not ticked off, like tick of approval type stuff with that, it's not ready to be shared online. And
Yeah.
I think if I were to share, say, especially the one around, does this help the audience or is it just relieving me? That in my mind, I feel really selfish if I, am just sharing to relieve myself. That's shit. That's just emotionally dumping on a big audience that we have. Like, I think we're in our little world where we feel big. And so they're the questions that I ask to make sure that I feel good about the thing that I'm sharing online. So it runs through a filter.
I love that one as well. Does this help the audience or just relieve me? Because when we are talking about providing value to our audience, like if is what I'm sharing right now, is there a lesson in there? Is there
Yeah.
something that they're going to get out of it? And if the question is no, then you shouldn't share it, because if you're not giving your audience value, then like, I don't know, post it on your like personal page, like to your
Private.
your
Close
aunties and your
friends.
uncles and stuff like that.
Yes.
Personal brand is different.
Yeah. I just want to add value, not noise. And also, we've taken an online community through some pretty hard years. So I'm not going to just show up and share content that relieves me. It's like, oh, COVID is hard. Like just sharing my unfiltered, hardly figured out thoughts with literally no lessons attached to it. What's the freaking point? Just
Yeah.
literally emotionally dumping on a community that we care about. So yeah, they're the filters for me. And as you know now, from being BTS at TDP, because of that, not everything or even a lot these days gets through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we're starting our personal brand and we're not getting a lot of traction.
Yep.
But even when we do have low visibility or traffic on our page, there are still signals that things are going well. So what are those signals that we can look out for?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to begin with, because of the way the AI first algorithms work now, even in the early zero follower kind of days, you're still going to be seen by quite a lot of non followers, especially if you're smart enough to load up a trial reel or something like that. And it's like a top of funnel, really good, Instagram reel as an example. Maybe that'll perform really well for you and sort of start to bring a few folk across and so on. It's certainly what we do with our clients. I look for saves because you're going to clock a lot, especially from non-followers. They're probably not going to hit follow until they start to see, you mentioned it before, you needed a few touch points before you thought, wait, I don't follow this person and I should. And it's just that touch points thing. It's a really typical journey for a lot of people. So you're going to clock saves. They might not follow, but they're going to hit save. They'll DM your content to their friends. They might start leaving commentary, even if they're not following you. You'll start to pick up inbound leads. And we noticed this when we run our comeback conference. I lose the ability to start servicing my personal brand content in the lead up to the conference and post because of how much work goes into our comeback conference every year. And so we've noticed that, wow, the personal brand is really like a bit of a big deal for TDP because it drives a lot. And we've noticed there's a direct link to less leads before and after conference. And so on that, like you will notice more trust velocity. So people start to build real trust with you and what you share. Again, coming back to that example you gave where you're like, wait, this is the third piece of content I've seen from this person that I'm really starting to enjoy. I'm building some real trust here and I'm a bit surprised that I'm not even following them. I might hit that, follow finally, for example. And then I think the bigger one before you see the big numbers is, to be really honest, TDP. Like I'm in an agency mastermind with about 29 other agency owners in Melbourne. We are all genuinely friends. Like no one believes me when I say this, but I can't tell you how important that mastermind has been for me. I've got so much value from it. And I remember on one particular session, they put me and someone else in the hot seat. And I think this is their exact words, so I'm not pumping my own tires up here, but in the mastermind, they said, nobody else in this mastermind has a personal brand as strong as Cherie's. And they said, Cherie, do you want to get in the hot seat? But before you do, we want you to come prepped with like HubSpot info, like your CRM details. We need to see everything. We want to test you against someone else who doesn't have a strong sort of personal brand online. And we want to sort of showcase how much that impacts sales. And so they put me in a seat next to someone else in the mastermind. We got the same amount of leads in one particular month, actually. We didn't close as many. Like there was a difference in how many we closed is what I mean to say. And then when we went through the numbers, I closed every single sales call that came through to our agency minus two. They closed about five. So I was something like 4 times as many as they had closed. Of the two that we didn't close, it was because they were actually awful. I didn't want to work with them.
Yeah, yeah.
I couldn't probably say that on social media.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was only two that didn't get through, and it was because we didn't want to work with them. That was the moment that I realized there's so much ROI in personal brands, and it's not just investment like the example I've given there, but it's intimacy as well. Because what I've noticed, Steph, now that I've put myself in the sales seat, and I'm bloody loving it actually, when I get into those calls, I have something other agency owners don't seem to be able to draw from in terms of strength. And that's just this really profound trust velocity. I just feel like I'm explaining significantly less, and they already feel like they know us, they trust us, and they just kind of want to get to like into it. What can you do? What do you recommend? This is our budget. How do you think this is best to utilize? That doesn't happen in other sales calls across other agencies. And I know this from being in the mastermind.
So how do you build trust with people who have never met you before, never heard of you before?
What you want to build is memorability for the right reasons and none of the wrong ones. I will say, as you build a personal brand, please like strap in. You're going to be remembered for the wrong reasons as well. You're going to make some blunders online. Absolutely. It's just part of being human, and also we're not meant to win everyone over. At this point in time, I think TDV has 66,000 followers, right? I am not ever under the impression that I'm going to have 66,000 people completely agreeing with us. Absolutely not. So you want to really clock memorability for as many of the right reasons as you possibly can and none of the wrong ones. And so I try to embed psychological safety online for a brand new community, not just for me, but our clients as well. And, so if someone's never heard of you before, you want to plant some belonging cues within your content and make people feel, psychologically safe and like their nervous system feels good, just even, consuming your content. I would say for our impatient listeners, I've got some good news for you. Trust is speed based now online. You can build it with one freaking post. I'm not exaggerating here.
Truly.
Yeah, so one post that really lands will do so much more for you than 10 super safe, fucking boring, beige, neutral pieces of content. So honestly, people aren't just assessing what you're saying now, they're actually clocking how it feels to receive that content, which I think is fascinating.
Me too.
Yep.
What are the biggest mistakes people are making when they're starting their personal brands?
Okay, this is easy. They're overthinking.
Yeah.
Yep.
Damn it.
Yep. They really are. Little tortured artists,
Yes.
Then they're inconsistent. So they'll just come in hot and then just fade out. They try to go viral. What a freaking waste of time.
Yeah.
They also try to be something that they're not. This even applies to me. Sometimes I look at other creators online or especially other agency owners and they're just so cool. And I just wish I was cool, but I'm just not. So I'm not going to pretend to be. Like my best mate at school was the librarian. I'm never going to try and be something that I'm not. If they wanted to sign up to a really cool kid agency owner, sorry, everyone, you found the wrong account. Like it ain't me. They're so cool that they also do face to camera video content really well and kind of cool. That ain't me. My face to camera style, sometimes even this, you might not know this actually, Steph, but sometimes I send video to you and I feel a little embarrassed about how autistic I am. Like
Really?
yep.
Wow.
Yep.
No, I wouldn't
I'm
have said that at all.
deadpan, and my tone doesn't have a huge range. And I feel a little self-conscious about that because I'm an autistic woman who's received 20,000 pieces of negative feedback by age 8, according to the latest statistics. And I just thought, I tried before, and you wouldn't know this either, I tried so hard for you to make the tone do different things, and then I couldn't figure out what the fuck I was saying.
Yeah, yeah.
I lost what I was even saying. So I thought, no, I'm going to come back to me. Yep, it's a little deadpan. My tone is more flat than others online. But guess what? That's also calm and regulated, and that's who I am as a person. So I keep hearing feedback when I get off a keynote speaker stage where people are like, I felt really calm when you began to talk, and I was like, all right, well, thanks for putting a nice, probably reframe on deadpan.
It's funny because when you edit people, you actually get to know the things that they do a lot. But
Yeah,
I think
right.
I'm probably just so used to editing you now that I wouldn't notice that at all.
Okay,
But yeah.
you've been Killianed.
Yeah, yeah. I notice phrases that we both say now that I'm editing the
Oh,
podcast, but I might tell you after this because otherwise
oh my
you'll
God, I
you'll
want to hear.
analyze what you're
No,
saying.
I want to hear
Yeah.
now. That's so
No, we'll
interesting.
wait.
Yes.
Okay, so do you think people wait too long to start their personal brand?
Yeah, start yesterday.
Yeah.
Honestly, perfectionism is holding most people back. A fear of judgment is a big one as well. I would say personal brand is a really long game.
Hmm.
And I've felt that at so many different points in TDP's lifetime. And we've heard about it, especially in episode 1 and 2. The strength of this personal brand got us out of some really tough,
Yeah.
shitty spots. And I'm so grateful for that. So it is such a long game.
You have to genuinely choose not to care. And I remember one of the first posts that I posted, and this isn't even that long ago, and it showed how many shares there were. And I knew that a couple were like you, Shree, putting it on your story or something like that. Like a few of them I could
Yes.
clock where those shares were. And then a few of them I'm like, they're probably in the DMs to someone. Like I had that thought in my
Oh,
head.
Steph,
Yeah,
yes.
right. Where it's just like,
Yes.
wait, where's that going? And like, I'm
Yeah.
so used to looking at insights
Yep.
of posts, and I'm like, why is that being shared? And I don't know where it is. I can't see it.
Absolutely.
And that little like voice in your head's like, oh my God, that's
Yep.
gone to someone's DMs probably.
Yep.
And it's like, well, I can choose to stress about that and worry about that and think,
The
the
worst.
worst. I can just choose to think it's a really great thing.
Maybe they're just
And
saying, God, she inspires me.
yeah, well,
You know?
even gaslight yourself a little
Yeah.
bit to think
Yeah.
that, even if maybe
Yes.
you don't fully believe that that's true. But it's just like, there's no point worrying about it.
No.
Like, you can't control it.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, it's really just 25 minutes of your time to reset the mindset.
Yeah. Speaking of mindset, what's one mindset shift that people would have to adopt before
Yep.
they even post?
Okay. Well, I think this one really helps me. As you're listening now, everyone, think about if you're a TikTok consumer, when you log into TikTok, where do you start? Is it in the FYP, being the For You page? Or are you one of those weirdos who clicks following, right?
Yeah, I'm in for you.
I know when I've accidentally clicked on and
Same.
I'm like, hang
And
on,
I'm out.
something feels shit. I'm like seeing far too much stuff that I kind of know, or like I just want diversity in all of the people all of that homogenous, right? And so most people are starting in the FYP. And so that's the biggest mindset shift, is that we are in a non-followers era. So you've got to say goodbye to 2024-ish, bit of 2025, I would say, where you thought you were designing content for everyone who already was following you for the most part. And every now and again, when you had a bigger piece of content go beyond your followers list, you'd be like, I made it. Now it's the opposite. When you click on the insights on pieces of content shared to Instagram and especially TikTok, it's more non-followers than followers that are consuming that content now because of those AI first algorithms. And so I frustratingly see so many people still posting content as if it's 2024, and they're making this big mistake of assuming that people know who the flip they are, and it's just not how it is anymore. So just assume that everything you're sharing is going to non-followers. And so you have to sort of picture that they're seeing this content from someone they don't even know, don't recognize, and probably need a few more touch points before they decide to follow you or not. And so I think about like when I first restarted that Instagram page as an example, I felt really proud to share a piece of content about my dad, actually. And you would know it popped off. But even when it popped off in a way that you would never have had to have known who Cherie Clonan from the Digital Picnic was to feel like you knew that person. I always think, and I ask myself, if this post that I'm about to share reached 10,000 people who've never heard of me tomorrow, would it represent me well? Would it help them? And would it make them want more? So with that Shane post, I realized really sadly actually that when that hit close to 4 million views collectively, right? There are a lot of people who had some real father wounds that kind of felt healed by that piece of content. And I was like, oh my Lord, I just wish I could give you Shane cloned, multiplied. I would wish him on every kid. I say that all the time. And so I answered that question. More than 10,000 people actually discovered me because of that piece of content. And I feel really good about that representing me well. I feel like it helped them and it definitely made them want more. In fact, many people asked if my dad was single. I was like, ew.
Not the purpose of the content, guys.
Not at all.
Okay, so what is the real goal of a personal brand if it's not the followers?
Yes, this is a great question. So I think that your first 100 posts, they're not for growth, they're for positioning. So treat the first 100 that you share, whether that's injecting more personal brand into your overall brand at the moment, or maybe you're feeling really courageous after taking in this episode and you want to launch an official, personal brand, but you need to figure out that those first 100 pieces of content that you share are honestly not really for growth. They're for positioning. And in this AI first algorithm era, they're also for some really big evergreen wins later down the track with regards to generative engine optimization related search. So chat-based search, which is the future of how social is going to impact our businesses positively.
But to kick it off, just start posting. Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just start posting.
Keep
Start
it simple.
yesterday.
Yeah. I would also suggest for people who maybe are business owners and they have a brand page, often they will say to us, like, I don't get the difference between what do I post on my business page and what do I post on my personal. Not to be like too, egotistical, but
Yeah.
please go and have a look at Cherie's personal brand in comparison to the digital picnic on Instagram. And you should be able to see a really clear definition of like what we would post to TDP and what Cherie would post. It's very different.
It's so different. I'm so clear on what I'm meant to be doing. I've got my 3 to 5 categories locked down for my personal brand, and they wouldn't make sense on TDP's account anymore. In fact, it would be a bit of a whiplash experience for our team. They'd be like, "Sorry, I thought we were working at a digital marketing agency."
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking, oh, I already post on the on the brand page, what would I be
Yes.
posting? It's a very different style. So definitely go have a look there. Otherwise, thank you so much for listening. We want to see your personal brands, so please DM them to us
Yes.
at the climbpod_ because we want to follow along on the journey as well. I mean, you can watch us as we try and grow our Instagram presence there as well.
Yeah.
So we're all doing it together. And if you want to support our podcast, you can follow along and subscribe. Otherwise, we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to The Climb with Cherie Clonan and Steph Clifford. Here's to growth, grit, and bloody good stories. Every Sunday, my husband and I sit down for a money chat. I know that's not sexy, but it's been wildly useful.
No, I actually love that because I feel like I'm at the age where I'm like, okay, I need to stop guessing where my money's going.
Yes, and that's exactly where Pocketsmith helps. You can track what you spend and earn, categorize and label spending, set up budgets, and view your finances in a calendar and actually forecast your cash flow up to 60 years into the future. And for neurodivergent brains, that flexibility matters. Sometimes you don't need more willpower. You need a system that makes the information easier to see.
So whatever your goals, like saving, paying things down, or just trying not to spend your whole salary on takeaway, Pocketsmith allows you to easily track and measure your money and get to enjoy the process of building toward your financial goals.
If you'd like to manage your money like a pro, Pocketsmith has a special deal for the Climb listeners. Get 50% off your first 2 months of Pocketsmith's foundation plan. To get your deal, go to pocketsmith.com/the-climb-podcast. See our show notes for more details.